Hello everyone! Greetings! Welcome to Magic Stew. My name is Kyle Ott. It's a big day for Magic Stew. Owen made his return. Links to that video in the description below. My beard is back in all of its full bearded glory to punish the heathens. And we're here to do a little bit of a draft. This is Draft Bootcamp, so if this is your first time joining us, Draft Bootcamp is a program that I run with Magic Stew to help you be a little bit better at your F&M draft. It's aimed mostly at beginners, but if you're hoping to learn something new, this is the best way to do it. So what we're going to do today, usually we break down lessons. For example, we've done the vanilla test, constructing your mana curve, understanding the basics and the fundamentals of draft. Today, I wanted to take you guys through a sample draft. We'll talk a little bit about how I make my picks, and that way you can see some of those ideas in practice, more or less. All right, so this is our first pack. Start off with Rivals Vixen, and wow, excuse me. This is kind of a lame one. Kind of a lame pack to start with. Oh, wait a sec. Sorry. I opened this pack so you guys would understand the site. I actually have to refresh this so we get a new pack. My bad. This site is called draftsim.com. This is what I use when I would like to practice. Super easy to use. Just go to draftsim.com. They're not sponsoring this video. It's just that I use this site all the time, so I figured why not give them a shout out now that we have a platform to do that. And you guys could use this one too if you want to get a little bit better. But in the interest of fairness, I've actually seen this pack. I was looking at it while the recording was starting up. So I want to start fresh so you guys know that it's 100% certified. Like Angus beef. Angus strategy. Beef strategy. Angus draft. All right, we got this. All right, new pack. All right, let's see what we got here. Definitely a little bit better, but this is a gold pack, gold card dot pack. We've got a Deadeye Brawler, which is amazing, Relentless Raptor, which has impressed me a little bit, Stormfleet Sprinter, which has definitely impressed me. This card is a beating if you're in the red-blue deck. And then, honestly, not a whole lot else. There is a Fathom Fleet Border, which is actually a card that I like quite a bit. Nice strong 3/3 for 3. Passes the vanilla test, even with the 2 life loss, which is, again, pretty negated if you can get a couple pirates. But then there's also Tomb Robber. Now, I've done about 8 or 9 drafts of this set. I haven't had a chance to play Tomb Robber yet. And I think this is probably the card that I'm most likely to take here. There's a couple reasons for that. Like, this is Tomb Robber is actually a lot weaker than a lot of the uncommons in this set. But you really don't want to start a draft off with a gold card. Again, you really want to try and cement yourself in a color if you can. We're not sending a lot of strong black signals by taking this card. I think the next best card in the pack is Fathom Fleet Border. That's not a gold card. And who knows? We could easily get Deadeye Brawler back. So I'm going to take Tomb Robber here, and we'll see what we get in the next pack. Induced Amnesia is pretty awful as well. Aquatic Incursion has not impressed me too much. 4 mana for 2 1/1s is like kind of meh-ish. It would have been better if you got 3 1/1s, and then it would actually be really good, I think. But as it stands right now, it's just sort of a below-average card. Overgrown Armasaur, meh. Soul of the Rapids is good if you have like enchantments to put on it. Sailor of Memes is always great. Legion Conquistor is fine. But I'm going to take the black card that's in our color. I'm going to take the card that's in our color, the only black card in the pack. It just so happens to be a 2-drop, which is great. It also happens to draw us a card, which is great. So we're taking Dusk Legion Zealot here. I don't think that's a pretty easy pick to make. None of the stuff in that pack was very strong, and this actually keeps us on color. We do have an interesting choice here. There's an Atsakan Seer, which again, a lot of really strong gold cards in this draft so far. Suncrested Pterodon has very much impressed me. This has been a very strong card for sure. Luminous Bonds, super strong. There's also Waterknot, which is decent. Waterknot actually one of the premier removal spells of the set, as is Luminous Bonds. Our black cards are Grasping Scoundrel. If we want to get a little scoundrelly with it, or a Gruesome Fate, which is also not that great. So I think at this point we're safe to take a non-black card. Again, we don't know if we're aggressive enough to make Grasping Scoundrel any good. The 2 best cards in this pack by leaps and bounds are Luminous Bonds and Waterknot. Blue-black Pirate Control is a thing. Blue-black Pirate Tempo is also a thing. However, I think black-white's just a stronger strategy, more or less. So I'm going to take the Luminous Bonds here. And we're kind of paid off for it, I think. A lot of people like Squire's Devotion. I'm okay on the card. +1/+1 and lifelink is still a very real thing, especially in this set. Rivals Draft is not nearly as fast as Ixalan Draft is, so the lifelink definitely, but the lifelink definitely still helps. The 1/1 also fine, but there's a lot more like better removal in this set, so you're more likely to get blown out by putting Squire's Devotion on something. As it stands, however, I think I'm just fine taking a Raptor Companion. Super aggressive 2-drop. It is in white. Second about our rare, Wayward Sawtooth has not impressed me at all. A lot of times it is just like all of the things that I dislike about building ramp decks. Most of the time it just feels like an enchantment that occasionally will turn into a 5/5. And usually the times that Wayward Sawtooth turns into a 5/5, you're going to win the game anyway. Sucks because he's a cool looking dinosaur, but not super great. This is interesting. We can take Forsaken Sanctuary, which is actually a pretty decent pick, I think. Deadman's Chest has not impressed me very much. It's been fine. Vampire Revenant, on the other hand, is also pretty strong. We don't necessarily know that we're going to be in black-white, but if we're like, for example, if we're in black-blue, we can then easily splash for this Luminous Bonds off the Forsaken Sanctuary, which I think is going to be the reason that we take it. Vampire Revenant is fine, and I do like the card. Ooh, I'm glad we took that, though. Path of Metal is an interesting one. I've seen it be good. It was good against me, but my deck was not that great to begin with. I guess we could draft around Path of Metal if we really wanted to. We're not losing a whole lot by taking Path of Metal. Like these packs have overall been pretty weak, so I'm going to take Path of Metal. This is just a speculatory pick. You never know. What do we need to look at? Vigilance. Okay, whenever you release 2 creatures that have first strike, double strike, vigilance, and haste attack. Oh, well, would you look at that? We get a Sun Sentinel, which is a pretty strong card. It's a nice one. Nice 2-drop. Again, Suncrested Pterodon has impressed me a bunch. Just having a 5-mana 2/5 that flies, then has vigilance and blocks is pretty good. But you really want to shore up those 2-drop slots early on. I'll take Sun Sentinel. The fact that it combos off a little bit with our Path of Metal is neither here nor there. We could even splash 2 for this Tomb Raider if we necessarily wanted it. Stone Quarry is good. Resplendent Griffin is very strong. So signals are a little all over the place. This is one of those times where I think it's okay to be speculatory. Resplendent Griffin's a very strong card, so I'm going to take it. And then, if we wind up in white-blue, that's great. If we wind up in white-red, that's great. If we wind up in white-black, that's fine. We've got some good stuff. I'm just going to put these 3 white cards here. And this is just us speculating at this point. The packs have been pretty weak, in my opinion, and there's been a lot of gold cards. So not really a lot of great signals. So at this point, we're hedging our bets. This is a little risky, but we're really hoping that Pack 2 gives us a more clear indication of what our opponents are doing. Because, frankly speaking, we don't have a clear indication of what our opponents are doing at this point. Stubborn Sentry, I think, is a lot worse than Spirewinder. However, at this stage in the draft, I think we're definitely going to be playing white. Again, perhaps that could be a mistake. But I think it's just important at this stage to sort of hedge our bets in the color that we have the most playables in, which would be white. Incredible that we wield the second Raptor Companion. That's definitely what we're going to be taking here. Legion Conquistador is fine. Moment of Triumph is great, actually. And it is pretty close to the Raptor in terms of power. But I think Raptor Companion, just another aggressive 2-drop, I think is fine as well for us. Ooh, we get a Moment of Triumph. Or I'm going to... Oh, by the way, by clicking these, I'm actually pushing them down into the deck portion of the deck builder. So that's why I'm doing that, just so I know which ones are actually in our deck. The bottom row is our deck, and then the top row right here with Path of Metal and Tomb Robber and Resplendent Griffin, that's our speculatory row. So we don't necessarily know if we're playing those. So if you see me scroll down sometimes, that's what I'm doing. All right. I think Moment of Triumph is pretty great. I think Suncrested Pterodon is pretty great. I'm leaning towards the cheaper combat trick. A cheap combat trick like this is great. Again, Suncrested Pterodon surprised me, surprisingly, flexible, durable, but Moment of Triumph I think is just a stronger card. Happy to take Stone Quarry here. Just grab one of these just in case we absolutely decide we will go white-red. If we go white-blue, River thing's good. Stone Quarry is fine. Okay, before we take a look at our next row, let's just chuck that Moment of Triumph right there into the bottom row. So before I move on to the next pack, there's a lot to unpack here. What you saw there was a little bit of a reactive draft. So I'm trying to stay open or as open as I can because the signals were all over the place. So you notice that I prioritize these split lands, right, like Forsaken Sanctuary pretty highly. Path of Metal was an interesting pick as well because there wasn't a whole lot that we were giving up to take it. So we could afford to speculate on a card like Path of Metal, which I don't think is usually very good. But if we get to build around it, and at that time I was picking it up for very little, I think that's a reasonable choice to make. So again, just explaining a little bit of the methodology behind what we're doing. And we've got 6 pretty decent white cards, which is good. Our curve is exclusively 2 drops and under at this point, which is actually pretty strong. It means that even if this draft goes poorly, we'll hit the ground running, which is excellent. You want to be able to do that so you don't get outclassed by the faster decks in the format. And then, if our opponents did manage to draft a more powerful deck, but that's slower, we'll be able to sort of get in front of them, which is great, which is good. So we're going to move on to the next pack. I think this is an obvious pick here. We know white is going to be our dominant color, and there happens to be 2 really strong white cards, Baffling End and Radiant Destiny. We're taking Radiant Destiny. Important to note that Reaver Ambush and Moment of Craving are both really strong, as is Crashing Tide. But again, just having Glorious Anthem, I think, is definitely a solid card. So we're going to put that in our playable row as well. Another thing here, we don't know what our second color is going to be just yet, and Divine Verdict, I think, is just as good as Resplendent Griffin. Oathsworn Vampire is insane. I will say that much. If you can gain the life, Oathsworn Vampire rocks, but strong removal in white is strong removal in white, and that's what we're going to be taking here. Pack is fairly weak. We've got a Stormfleet Swashbuckler. Dude, does Trample proc our beautiful Path of Metal? It does not. Trample does not proc Path of Metal. I wish it just had said metal so I could make Slayer jokes. I think at this point we're just going to be happy taking a second Moment of Triumph and just sticking with mono playables. Alright, mono playables. Second Divine Verdict is great. Sucks that we're passing up a Martyr of Dust. Martyr of Dust, one of the better 2-drops in the format. See Red is actually pretty decent as well, especially with our Path of Metal, and it's just a good enchantment in general. But, when you see a high-quality removal spell like Divine Verdict, I think you just have to snap it up. Exultant Skymarcher, best card in the pack, also happens to be in our color. Enter the Unknown has not impressed me a whole bunch. We're just going to take Exultant Skymarcher. A second Exultant Skymarcher is also what we're going to be taking here. It's a great card. 3 mana, 2/3 flyer is surprisingly good in this format. Snapping that up. Alright, this is actually an interesting pickup. So I'm going to put these in our playables. So as you can see right now, we're sort of getting rewarded for hedging our bets the way that we did. We've got a ton of decent playables moving in to the end of this pack, which is great. But I want to take a look at our curve. So right now we've got 3 2-drops. We've got 2 3-drop flyers and a 1-drop dinosaur. We do have 2 other dinosaurs as well. So at this point, we can do a couple things. We can either take Pride of the Conquerors, if we were a go-wide sort of strategy. I actually really like Pride of the Conquerors and Vampires. I have played it in a red-white aggressive dinosaurs deck with like 15, 16 lands. I think it was 16 lands. Where you just sort of go wide and sort of blow them out with that. With that being said, I think Sun-Crusted Pterodon Sun-Crusted Pterodon. It makes it sound like you something crusted over in the heat. But Sun-Crested Pterodon, I think, is actually fine. We don't have anything in the top of our curve yet. A flyer like this is pretty good, especially with the number of dinosaurs that we have. We already have 3 other dinosaurs, so I'm going to take the Sun-Crested Pterodon here. This pick, I think, is close between Sun Sentinel and the Sun-Crested Pterodon. Let me know in the comments below what you guys would have done. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable one. We are rewarded for our signaling by taking a Martyr of Dusk, one of the premier 2-drops in the format. Nicely done there. I think this is actually a pretty easy Dusk Legion Zealot at this point. Again, we can splash for red removal if we get it, or like a red bomb if we absolutely want it. We have 2 Stone Quarries. But we've got a bunch of vampires. We've got a Martyr of Dusk. We've got 2 Exultant Skymarchers. And I think if we put the Dusk Legion Zealot in, we'll have another vampire. I'm taking Dusk Legion Zealot here. Dinosaur Hunter is good. It's actually surprisingly good in this format. Just a 2-mana 2/2 that just kills any dinosaur is sweet. Let's see. Sphinx's Decree seems bad, whereas Dark Inquiry actually seems playable. Strider Harness, a Woodland Stream, and then a Shatter. All right. Before we move on to the next pack, It looks like we're going to be white-black, but again, we've got a pretty strong white base, so we can pivot if we absolutely need to. And remember, we also have this white-black split land, so that we can splash for a black removal spell if we absolutely want to as well. That's a Carnage Tyrant. Huh. That's a Carnage Tyrant. Wow. Okay. So the safe pick here, I think, would be the Anointed Deacon. I'm just going to say that right now. Bright Reprisal is fine, but I think Anointed Deacon is a lot better, especially now that we've got 2 Exalted Sky Marchers, and if we really wanted to, those 2 Dusk Legion Zealots. I think by firmly putting ourselves in black, it's just a solid call. But Carnage Tyrant is a beating. Yeah. If this was my FNM, I'm treating this like this is a competitive REL draft. If this was my FNM, I would probably just snap up the Carnage Tyrant and say, screw it, I'm going to try and force white-green. It's such a cool card. And I think at this point, too, scrolling back down again to take a look at our playables, I think we could force white-green if we absolutely wanted to. But I think Anointed Deacon is just stronger for our deck. I think we've got tons more playables if we go the white-black route, and I think it's time to pull the trigger on our second color, which is good. Again, we're up to 20 playables right now with the without counting the Forsaken Sanctuary, and there's stuff like Dark Inquiry that we could cut. We don't have to play the Stubborn Sentry, so we're up to 19 playables. Realistically, we could have 22 if we ran Strider Harness. So we've already got our deck basically built, which is excellent. Ooh, a tough pickup for us. But again, let me know in the comments what you would have taken there. If you would have gone the Carnage Tyrant route, or if you would have done what I did and snap up that Anointed Deacon. Bishop of the Bloodstain was also a consideration there, but he's not very good. All right, let's take a look. So we have Ixalan's Binding versus Wanted Scoundrels. That's really what this pack comes down to. There's some other strong stuff too. Grazing Whiptail I love. Siren Lookout is one of my favorite cards in the set, period. It probably is the best blue common in Ixalan. It's either that or One with the Wind. And at this point, I'm trying to think what we need. So let's take a look at our curve. It's always important to take a look at what you've got before you decide what you need. So we've got 3 removal spells. We've got Luminous Bonds and 2 Divine Verdicts. But I think Ixalan's Binding is actually going to be the pickup here. Wanted Scoundrels is a great card, but we've got plenty of 2-drops already. And as much as I want a 4/3 for 2 mana, I think Ixalan's Binding is just great. Imperial Aerosaur is also stellar. Very, very good card. Just snap it up. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a 3/3 flyer for 4. We play this, we can jump one of our Raptor companions, hit him for 4 in the air. Really solid card. I'm pretty happy to make a pickup of that right now. All right, so we're going to put these into our deck. So we're up to 20 playables now. I'm not counting our white-black split land. Ooh, Admiral Beckett Brass. I have yet to see this be good in draft. I would like it to be good in draft, but I have yet to see it be good in draft. Stormfleet Aerialist. Wow, blue seems super open. That's a Siren Stormcaller and a Stormfleet Aerialist in the same pack. Both of those are really, really good cards. Belligerent Brontodon, not in our colors. We could take a Heartless Pillage, a Desperate Castaways, a Queen's Agent, or a Shining Aerosaur. We don't really have enough artifacts to make Desperate Castaways work for us. Heartless Pillage is fine, but we've already got a discard spell in Dark Inquiry. I think we're just going to take Shining Aerosaur and just add another Airborne Attacker. I think that's just an excellent card to have in our deck. So this is an interesting one. We can grab a 3rd Raptor Companion or a Legion's Judgment. I'm leaning towards the Raptor Companion. I feel like you can never have enough 2-drops in a deck. Could be wrong about that. The Legion's Judgment seems pretty sideboardable. We also have 2 Divine Verdicts, a Luminous Bonds, and Ixalan's Binding. Shame that we didn't get any of the really good black removal, but I think we're just taking Raptor Companion here. Interesting. I actually think Fathom Fleet Cutthroat is probably going to be our pickup here. It's either going to be that or Pterodon Knight. It's interesting. We do have 3 Raptor Companions. And maybe Pterodon Knight's the pick, actually. Usually I don't like Pterodon Knight, but with this many dinosaurs and just wanting to take to the air while we, hold back with cheap 2-drops and 4 mana kill spells, I actually think Pterodon Knight's probably going to be the pick. I really like Fathom Fleet Cutthroat, don't get me wrong, but I think the Pterodon Knight's going to be good too. The other option is you could always just take Spreading Rot if your opponent has a really strong land. like one of the flip lands that you really need to kill. But I think Pterodon Knight's actually just a better pickup in general. Bless, and we are rewarded. We are rewarded for our dedication to the colors and to the draft with a Call to the Feast. What a strong gold card. Happens to be in our colors because we sent the right signals, we read the right signals, and we found what we needed to find. That's going to be our 24th playable, which is great. Call to the Feast is what I'm taking there. So the reason I always want to have 24 playables in a deck, I love playing 16 lands, especially in this format where flooding out is just the worst. Our curve stops at 5. We have exactly 3 5-mana cards. We have a Shining Aerosaur, a Sun-Crusted Pterodon, and an Anointed Deacon. We have a split land as well, which makes our mana a lot more flexible and well-balanced. We've got a Tomb Robber as well, so he can actually discard creatures that we can't cast to explore, which gets us our mana if we need it. And we have a wealth of 2-drops. 2 Dusk Legion Zealots are going to draw us into some things. I'm actually very confident in this deck. If I was playing this deck at a tournament, I'd be very happy with it. We don't have any outright bombs, but we've got a lot of good synergy, some good removal, a decent curve. I'm feeling good about it right now. So let's see what we can do. We can pick up a Fleet Swallower. Jokes. Card's terrible. Don't play Fleet Swallower. No one plays Fleet. No, don't do that. Don't do that card. It's bad. It's fun, but it's bad. We could also hate draft a Swashbuckling, which I don't think is going to be the move. I think a Spreading Rot is actually going to be what we pick up here, just for the sideboard. At this point, Direfleet Hoarder is great. We have enough 2-drops, especially like X1 2-drops. And I actually think a sideboard piece of removal is great. Wow. We are rewarded with a strong 9th pick. Let's think about this. What are we grabbing here? There's a Bright Reprisal. Do like Bright Reprisal quite a bit. However, I think Queen's Commission is actually a little bit stronger for us. I'm kind of wishing I had taken that Pride of the Conquerors now that we've got a bunch of vampire token strategies. But we've already got 2 Divine Verdicts and an Ixalan's Binding. Our removal package is already pretty slow as it is, and a Luminous Bonds. I think Queen's Commission is just better, especially now that we have an Anointed Deacon. Blood Crazed Paladin. We could actually go full on. We could go full out with the token strategy if we really wanted to. I'm going to take Blood Crazed Paladin here. Now this is interesting. Because we've drafted in such a way that we have a plethora of playables, we can actually sort of change how we want to build this deck. With stuff like Radiant Blessing, maybe going full in on the vampire token strategy is a better idea. So we could cut that 2-drop Dinosaur Slayer and Pterodon Knight if we absolutely wanted to. And we could do Queen's Commission, Blood Crazed Paladin, which I actually don't think is a good move. I think we actually just keep the strategy the way that it is. Blood Crazed Paladin has some pretty nuts upside to him. But I don't think Queen's Commission is actually better than a Pterodon Knight when we've got 6 dinosaurs, and we do have 6 dinosaurs. And Dinosaur Hunter I just think is a stellar 2-drop. Hate draft a Deep Root Champion or grab a Demystify for the sideboard. I grab a Demystify for the sideboard. Wow. More black cards, which is sweet. We'll take a Heartless Pillage. I don't think we need a 6-drop Vampire. A Blight Keeper is actually pretty decent. And an Ashes of the Abhorrent for the side. So, all said and done, you guys can see that I'm sort of building my draft deck as I go. This is usually what I do at FNMs and things like that. But again, this is just to help you out construct a mental picture of what you're doing as you're going along. You can see here our deck is pretty strong. We've got 3, 6, 9, 8 2-drops. We've got 3 3-drop creatures. Already our curve is 11 things that are 3 mana cost or lower that are creatures that hit the board. We've got a Pterodon Knight that can take to the sky and kill some people. We've got 2 Exultant Sky Marchers to take us to the sky and punch through some damage. We've got 3 Flying Dinosaurs, one of which jumps a non-flying creature as well. We have an Anointed Deacon to help push us through some extra points of damage. We've got 2 Moments of Triumph, some good combat tricks to force advantageous trades for us. And then on top of that, Luminous Bonds, 2 Divine Verdicts, Ixalan's Binding as well, and then a Call to the Feast to go wide. I think this is a very strong deck, and a Forsaken Sanctuary as well. This is a very strong deck. I would run this with 16 lands or 15 basic lands and then 1 Forsaken Sanctuary. And I think this feels like a tournament winning draft. This feels like an FNM winning draft. Hopefully this has been informative for all of you. Hopefully you've enjoyed the Draft Bootcamp. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the video obviously, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about some of the picks that I made. Again, this is one of those things, a draft especially, where the more you talk about why you picked what you picked, the better of a drafter you're going to become. Draft is one of those really important communal formats. So talk to me in the comments below. Like I said in one of my last videos, Liam and I read all of the stuff that you guys write us, so it's super, super important. Until next time, folks, I'm Kyle Ott.